everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today I have with me Mr. Kory Livingstone. He is the author of the book Quiet Determination, Unlocking the Gates to Unlimited Success. He's also a jazz composer. So first and foremost, Kory, thank you and welcome to the show. Thank you for hanging out with me today.
Oh, you're welcome, and thanks for the invite. Super.
Awesome. Music is very near and dear to me. It's gotten me through a lot of ups and downs in my life. It's a very powerful tool. Music is. How did you get into this whole? How did your journey in music begin?
Well, it was not my decision at all. It's my mother's decision to start me off. She had the wisdom to start me and my two brothers off on piano lessons, whether we liked it or not.
Usually
And
the case.
we didn't like it.
No.
We didn't like it.
Yeah, I am in your mother's line of thinking. I know when I was pregnant with my daughter, chess and piano were two of the things that I was determined that she was going to partake in. And just like you, she pouted at some points of the venture. It was not pleasurable, it was not fun, but I for some reason in my spirit, it just told me that was something that was going to be to her benefit. Do you advocate music for children, even though you didn't like it in a young age?
Yeah, because well, I came. See, there's a reason why you don't like it, because you can't relate to it.
Mm.
When I first started off, we had songs like "Bow Wow Wow," "Walk Over the Bridge," "Left Foot Up," "Right Foot." I mean, boring, boring, boring literature. It was just boring business. It wasn't until I even failed one of my conservatory exams. I think it was a sixth grade one, and I really couldn't give a hoot. But it wasn't until early high school when I discovered blues, R&B. Because up here in Toronto, it's not like out in Los Angeles or Detroit, Motown, all stuff. It wasn't. I was living basically in a white culture, and they listened to top 40. We tuned into Buffalo, which is an hour and a half from me. You listen to UFO, and we heard Carla Thomas and all those great blues people, and R&B was really, really big in Toronto. I mean, across all cultures, it was we didn't want no Rolling Stones, we didn't want no Beatles, we didn't want no Elvis Presley, we wanted James Brown.
There you go.
And it was that era around grade 10 I discovered all this stuff, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is good stuff. And I went from I actually ended up paying for my own lessons from my paper route that I had. And I ended up going from a forced piano, 30 minutes a day. I was practicing on my own 2 hours a day.
Wow.
It was the literature that made the difference. Okay. Going over to was relevant.
Okay.
Now, and then I went to teaching. I did a lot of private teaching. Yeah, and it became a bore because I could have 100 students, and were the ones who stood out as musicians. The others, it was they didn't practice until I realized. And many years, it wasn't music lessons I was giving them. It was life lessons I was giving them. And that turned the picture right around. So I stopped. I didn't have to look at the clock. Oh, it was an hour. When can I push the ejector button? The things you learn about life through music. Okay. And I learned one of them, doing things that you don't want to do. Okay. But it in the end, it made me accountable. In life, we have to do things that we don't necessarily want to do. So, just get to it, John Henry, and stop complaining. And this is one of the lessons you learn in life. And one parent said to me, as a response to one of my brochures. So you're saying then successful in music, successful in life, yes.
Mm.
So your chess that you gave your daughter, they weren't chess lessons, they weren't piano, and she applied that to her schoolwork. She applied that to her own personal life without even knowing it. Okay, you don't even
Mm-hmm.
know that. And so this was the big turning point too. So I say to parents, you're not giving music lessons, and you can't say, "Oh, my son has a tin ear, can't carry a tune in a basket, not a musical bone." Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's
Okay.
you're learning skills, learning a mindset, and
That'll
this is
last
what you're
you.
doing. This is
Okay.
what's going to get them into college and university.
Okay. Now,
So
it sounds like
and I know it's more work for the parent than the kids.
yeah, because you have to keep the child on task. So if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like regardless of interest or every parent should look into giving their child some sort of musical foundation.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be musical. You know, um, music is best though, and there's more talk about that later on
Mm-hmm.
because it involves both sides of the brain.
Okay.
Okay, not just one at a time. Uh, they could be going to ballet. They could be good at judo. They could be good at something that they have to practice and work on. Not something where they stick their hand out and it falls in.
Mm,
Something that they have to work and lifelong, and they have to do it every day, and to be good at it. Music is one of the few things that you have to keep at in order to improve. You
mm,
know, you just don't, you don't, the idea is not to sit in there and practice for a half hour. The idea is to improve your ability over
okay.
that half hour, even if it's only this much. But it's not to do the same thing over and over the same way. Oh man, this is boring. How many times I got how to practice? You haven't been told how to practice properly.
I see. I see how to practice because I know as a parent, and I'm pretty sure your mother went through the process as well. This you making your child commit to or forcing them, it seems like you're forcing them to practice, because we're
It's
paying
forced.
for these, yeah, we're paying for these lessons, and you're going to go see your teacher in 5 days, and you need to be prepared because I know my daughter would have these assignments, and she'd have to get there and bang 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 out at the piano so she could move on to the next thing. But I'd have to make her sit down after school for a certain period of time, and until at some point in time it transitioned where she enjoyed it. She wanted to become Alicia Keys. So that was the trigger moment for her. She wanted to become Alicia Keys. So then she applied effort. But until we got to that point, it was, sit down, you're going to do this. And it was just, she was cringing from the whole process. Is there a way for a parent to make that whole thing more enjoyable?
The old saying, ain't nobody gonna do it but you.
Uh,
There's, it's just as much work. This is why a lot of kids fall by the wayside because the parents are not prepared to do their part. You have to work just as hard. I mean,
mm-hmm.
my piano was in the living room and it was adjacent to the kitchen, and my practice time was 5 o'clock every
Mm.
day. My mom was in the kitchen. What was she doing at 5 o'clock? She was making dinner. So she could multitask. She could supervise me and make dinner. And every 5 minutes, I'd call out, "Is a half hour up yet? Is the half hour up?" "No, it's not." So, so she'd obviously, this is her wisdom. She knew she had to be there. She knew what was expected, and she knew she had to do it, but she did it. Tom Landry, going back, people who remember the Dallas Cowboys. He was a coach for them, and he's the most winningest coach in NFL history.
Mm-hmm.
He said the job of a coach, football coach, is to make grown men do what they don't want to do in order that they can become what they always wanted to be.
Great.
Same job, parent has the same job.
Great.
Any coach, any teacher has the same job. We don't, and I advocate this too. For anybody who's looking for success in their life, you need someone to make you accountable. You need someone to kick your behind. You need someone to whip that behind. And you have to give them permission to do that. And it's not a weakness.
Yes.
Right. It's not a weakness.
An accountability partner.
Yes. Yeah. An accountability partner. It's not it's just, you could be that far from the cure. How many cures? Think of our recent with the COVID, with the vaccine. How long have they been that far from finding this vaccine? If they just could have thrown their hands up and says, "Oh no, we can't do it." But the government and leaders say, "You guys keep working on that thing, and we want a cure," right?
That's right.
So success is around. I say to myself always, could be around the next corner, could be at the next step. You don't know, but it's so close, but so far away. So you just have to. And sometimes you say, well, gee, I don't know I don't know if I should keep going. Someone there says, yes, you have to. You just, you can do it. And I know from personal experience, the tiniest bit of encouragement takes you to the next step. I remember when my mom died. She died kind of young, and I was heartbroken. Mm-hmm. I lost like 15 pounds in 2 weeks, and was at the church service. And there was word out that I was going to play the organ, play a tune, but I felt so bad, and kind of actually even nervous to play because I wasn't in condition. And one of my cousins was next, and I was telling him this. He's like, "Hey, you're going to play?" "No, I not really don't want to." Blah blah blah. And he just said kindly, "I think it'd be kind of nice for a son to play at his mother's funeral." And that's all it took. And I went up there and played. People said, I played Amazing Grace. And one man, I saw him a month later. He said, "Is that your mom's funeral? That song you played was so beautiful. I went out and bought a copy." Someone Amazing Grace,
Yeah. From that little perspective.
And that was me wanting to give up.
Yeah. But
it made me more kind of just the tiny bang. That's what a coach. So my cousin coached me, didn't even know.
That's right. A whole perspective shift from your cousin. That's beautiful. Now, I
that
mentioned
inspired somebody else. Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, for me, music has been everything, and I forced it in my own way on my daughter, just as your mother did to you. But this newer generation of parents, I have some issues because it seems like they allow their kids to practice over and over again things like video games, just sit there and take up their time with video games. But I feel that music and other things, like I had mentioned earlier, the chess increases their intelligence, a child's intelligence. It's the doorway, the gateway to pursuing educational or just becoming a more enlightened person. Do you have any input on music and a child's intelligence?
Well, you see, music involves, our brain's split in half.
Mm-hmm.
The right half for creativity, the left half for logic. Music, and we're either doing one side is dumb. We're either using the right side, or we're using the left side. I'm an accountant, I'm on the left side. I'm a painter, I'm on the right. But music involves both working at the same time. So you have the logic. I've got to figure out what the music is, where it's going. I have to learn to read the notes. The right side, I have to make it sound beautiful. I have to do my touch. I have to make it, it's an art. So what happens with music allows the two sides to talk to each other, and it trains that side. Okay.
That's
So
synergy.
as you get older, you have your problems. You're trying to see, a big part of life is solving problems, right?
Mm.
You've got your two, you're better able to have both one side talk with the other side to figure out this problem. We call it executive function. Okay.
Executive function.
Look at the logical side, look at the artistic side, so on and so forth, and then come out with a solution to your problem. So this is, we all do it, but when you have music behind you, these abilities are enhanced. Okay, so that's, in fact, the earlier you start your musical education, and it doesn't have to be like education, learn these notes. I mean, it could be just, here's an instrument, bang around on it, whatever,
Gotcha.
and figure something out. But as long as you're involved in music, so you have the advantage of having these abilities that we all have developed. Just like people go to the gym and lift weights and they
Mm.
build their muscles. Okay, so you have to build. This is a muscle, so we build that muscle, and this is how it comes in handy. In life, you've got a brain that can make these executive decisions.
Executive decisions. Okay. Now you talk in your
And
book.
also,
Oh, go ahead.
no,
Go
I
ahead.
was going to say also, and you're talking about language skills. Okay, musicians have better language skills as well. So there's just, the list goes on and on. So a parent should really investigate um, that the values, and it takes some work. That's why you're investigate all the intrinsic values of music. So the parent will feel better. I'm not sending Mary and Johnny for music lessons. I'm preparing them to be successful in life when they leave home.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
This will make the constant get in there and practice and do this much easier.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
It's right up there with go clean your room, go clean your room, go clean your room. It's
I was listening to a sergeant or a drill sergeant who was talking about the very thing. The reason we make every Marine or soldier make their bed tidy as a pin is because they now have accomplished something for that day. That's the first thing they have accomplished of many things. And the first thing you do is to make that bed and make it better be ripped, snorting, perfect. Okay. And that's a discipline that they drill into these soldiers. So it's
I
the
mean,
same thing.
good thing. Oh, that's a good one too. Discipline, and like your mother was doing, that discipline, that daily discipline. You need that in every avenue of your life. I mean, as you grow into an adult, you need to have some sort of structure to get you through every single process called life. So I can see that. Now, in your book, you talk about this issue of you can tell you can tell about a child's personality based on what type of music they like.
Yeah. Every type of music has an attraction. Okay, so let's take pop music. All the you want to swing and dance and look at me. Suggest your child might be an extrovert. Okay, uh, so that's one thing, and also have a high self esteem. Because they're up there. So that's one thing. You're looking at hip hop and rap, in spite of the stereotypes that rap lovers are more aggressive and whatnot. But they found that researchers, there's no such link between rap and being that your child who likes rap, they must be aggressive. No, there's that rap fans tend to have a high self-esteem and are usually outgoing. Because that music is it's making a statement. So I'm going to tell you're looking at country music. Country music fans seem to be hardworking, conventional, outgoing, and emotionally stable, you know, and particularly now with the pandemic, there's a lot of, we're all over. So these things tell you, give signs of your child's personality. They're not, we're not saying good, we're not saying bad. It's just what is, right? The sky is blue, right? And that's, the sky. We're not making the grass is green. That's a statement.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're looking at rock or heavy metal. Now these seem to be aggressive and but researchers have found that a lot of these fans are usually quite gentle. Okay,
Hmm.
they tend to be creative, introverts, and hard to believe, but they suffer from low self-esteem.
Hmm.
So complete the
Interesting.
opposite to what the stereotype image
Yes.
is. And a lot, and that makes sense because a lot of people uh, have to put on a front to mask what they really are. Once you poke through the shell, they're all mush, right?
Hmm. Yes, indeed. Peel back those layers.
Looking at yeah. So and that's human nature, right? We all wear a mask to cover our weaknesses
Hmm.
because we're afraid to show our weaknesses. We don't mind showing our strength, but oh, don't heaven forbid anybody find out my weakness.
Who I really am, right?
Yeah, yeah. Classical people, they tend to be more introverted, but they're more at ease with themselves and the world around them. And surprisingly, and you wouldn't think this, and I even know this from personal experience, classical musicians have tremendous senses of humor. And you can look at what one everybody can see if people are old enough to remember Victor Borge. He was a Swedish classical concert pianist who made his living as a comedian. He did tremendously funny things. Yeah, I remember
Oh.
one thing. He would come out in the tails and the black suit and the big grand piano. And this one time he brought out an opera singer, and he was going to accompany the piano. He was sitting there looking all distinguished, and then he played the chord, and then her first song was woo, as opera singers sing, and he fell off the chair. He fell off his chair, you know, and then he got back up, opened up the piano bench, the chair, and pulled out the seatbelt and strapped himself in, to the seat. So it was a very funny
Yes,
visual gag.
indeed. I
Yeah.
see.
And that's how he made his living for all his. And he was a marvelous pianist.
Classical comedy. Classical comedy, huh?
Yeah, yeah. And he made fun of the classical genre,
Yes.
all the highbrow, snuffy stuff, and he just tore it apart. He was very, very funny.
Yeah, I for
And then
my
you can look at
go ahead.
no, I
For
was
my
saying for like
generation, my introduction to classical music was through Bugs Bunny and that was how I got introduced to classical music.
well, I got introduced, you know, uh, believe it or not, when I was young, learning, I learned at the conservatory. My first several years, there wasn't a stitch of classical music. It was all, like I say, all this mundane Three Blind Mice rode the boat.
Mm.
Johnny run over the bridge, Mary pick up the flower. I mean, it was like reading a grade one reader, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't Shakespeare, it wasn't uh, Hemingway, it wasn't Charles Baldwin, it wasn't anything. It was
Mm-hmm.
just an exercise. And it wasn't until high school when I actually I had this teacher who gave me some uh, real classical music like Bach and Beethoven, and it just Mozart, and it just blew me away. I said,
Mm.
"Holy cow! This it was really it was it was the meat and potatoes. It was it was a French cooking. It wasn't, you know, French fries homemade. I mean, I don't know what it was. It was like, it's like McDonald's. You've been raised on McDonald's, and then you go to France and go to a cordon bleu restaurant.
Yeah. You
Oh,
say, oh, this is why I've been practicing all these years. Okay.
yeah. And I couldn't understand, why wouldn't they give you that to begin with?
Yes.
But
At
the
least
other,
to reel you in, it's just, keep
they
my
think,
interest.
yeah, they think you haven't got the mental and physical abilities to do it, you know,
But
but
that's strange
not
because
so.
kids are just absorbent sponges. I would think that you would give them the complex stuff and they would just nail it. Just
Well, it's just the way things were done in those days. Maybe it's changed, but I don't think it has. I look at some of the beginner books.
hmm
I,
I know.
oh,
We had them all in her piano bench. They were just like, okay, I got tired of hearing it in the house over and over again, right?
I'm depressed thinking about it. Uh, and they didn't, and they refused. And this is going in classical, to even teach you to use your ears. You know, you only had to. You could. Oh, what's written here? This is what we play. What's written? I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna ask you to. Well, what favorite tune do you have in your head that you learned at school? Do you want to figure out how to learn to play it on your own? They don't even. They, at least in my time, they didn't go there. You know, it
Mm,
wasn't. And then so you learn to read first, then listen.
okay.
That's like, okay, I'm going to teach a baby how to read. Then I'm going to teach it how to hear what it's reading. No, you hear first,
That's
then
right.
you know. So it was all backwards.
And I think that's why we're amazed when we hear these stories of people who don't know how to read music, but they're these phenomenal musicians. They just play by ear.
You know, who said that? It was Louis Armstrong or this other musician. He says, and someone asked him, "Well, do you know how to read music?" And he says, a little bit, but not enough to hurt. You know, you know,
Not
and
enough to.
yeah, and that's so true.
Okay, okay. Now, before we go, because I've taken up a lot of time talking about music, I do want to talk about your book. And we touched on it here and there, but Quiet Determination, music and success are synonymous to you. This is, if you know music, everything else in life will fall into place. Uh, I'm curious, what was the aha moment that made you start to write this book?
Well, I years ago I got I was doing a concert in Toronto here, and it was a do-it-yourself concert. In other words, you got a bare venue, just bare. Well, you had bare walls. You had no curtains. I had to go down and bring my own portable curtains, and I had to hang my own lights, and I had to turn it into a concert space. It was only a small, but it held about 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a venue. So I went and did that. I spent all day Saturday, got my tools up and down the ladder. I had to order the grand piano. I rented a grand piano, had that in. I had to get my stuff, the snacks and stuff ready to sell at the break time, and all the merchandise. And and that's what I did. That's what you had to do, is do it yourself. And then about 2 weeks later, I got this note in the mail. It's on a 3x3 post-it, and I'll read it to you. It says, "Kory, thanks for the check." I sent them the check, to rent the thing. That's first things first. I have admired your persistent, quiet determination and attention to details. It is more than talent; it's a mature determination. I would do well to apply the same to my life, and may God bless
Ah,
all your efforts. Neil S. Now, who's Neil? Neil was the building custodian.
wow.
Exactly what I said. The fact that I was doing something that was invisible, to me. I mean, of course I have to set it up. I mean, I didn't want to pay anybody. It was so big deal. But
Yes.
to him, it was
Wow.
wow.
You never know who you're impacting. Never
Yeah.
know.
And the fact that he could see my purpose, my quiet determination, okay, hence the title of the book,
Yeah.
to attention to detail. So he could see how and he says he should be doing the same thing to his own life. I mean, blew me away. So that was the inspiration of the book. I didn't know what he meant by quiet determination. I didn't know what he meant. It meant something to him. All right. So I was trying to find the wisdom of his words. And this book is the result of what I found. I actually went inside myself and looked at the things that I learned about life through music.
Okay.
And I laid them out.
Awesome. I love it. That's awesome. That's a beautiful story. The Custodian. Wow.
The Custodian.
That is amazing. Great stuff. Now, before we, I got two more things I want to do before we go. One of them I want to ask you is, I see a piano back there. Is that the only instrument that you play?
I'm a master of one.
Master of one. We'll take it. We'll take it. A master of one, because some people to go through their whole lives and become a master of none. So I will take a master of one. Okay.
There you go. There you go.
All right, we're going to do the random question, Kory, and then I'm going to ask you to tell people how they get the book and get in touch with you. All right. So the random question. Let's see what we've got here. What is your least favorite food?
My least favorite food used to be cooked carrots.
Cooked carrots. Carrots are good for the eyes.
Yes, that's why I wear glasses now. You see? They made me gag. My mother used to make them, and there was just something about the taste.
Yeah.
When they got to here,
yeah.
So I have to put down that as my least
favorite food.
Now, a raw carrot, different story.
Yes, I love carrots. I'm a vegetarian. All righty, Kory Livingstone. Please tell everybody how they pick up the book and how they get in touch with you, because you also do other things besides preach about music. You compose music. You're just the music man. The music man.
Yeah. Well, if you write to me, Kory at KoryLivingstone.com, I'll send into your readers a free copy of my book. Send me that in your email, and I'll send you a free copy, digital copy of that over the email. No problem.
Everybody loves free, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, and how do they so they get the book free from you? All right.
Yeah, and send them over a digital copy, right? That's all they have to do. Send me a little note. Please send me. I heard you on Lana's show, and please send me a copy of Quiet Determination.
Awesome. That's beautiful. Well, Mr. Livingstone, I appreciate your time today. I appreciate your gift of music and everything that it provides to the world, and you sharing it with us. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you for your time today.
My pleasure. Nice talking with you.
Awesome. That's all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time.